Are you hearing a lot about the importance of niche research and finding the right niche, but you really are still stuck in how do I even go about that? Do you think that you need some expensive tools and some fancy equipment or data software to be able to start looking for the right niche? Absolutely not. If that's what's been holding you up, watch this video because I am going to show you the first way that you can do your Amazon KDP niche research with absolutely no tools. Hello and welcome back to Rebecca Boland Strategy. I am Rebecca Boland, the voice behind this YouTube channel and the mom behind theprofessionalmom.com blog. I am sharing behind the scenes looks of all of my online ventures as I test out various ways to build businesses at home with kids on your own time. If you've been following my channel, I have been transparently sharing my income reports as a new low-content Amazon KDP publisher. But today I want to jump into the techniques behind creating the books. We are going to use no software, no other tools, just Amazon and a little bit of sleuthing skill to look at the big picture of Amazon categories, topics, niches, and how to find the space that you can fit your book into without having to invest in any other programs. So as you can see here, I have already pulled up Amazon and I have actually opened a Chrome browser window in incognito mode. So depending on the browser you use, might be search privately, search incognito, but whatever it's called, I always like to use this when I'm doing research because it means that this browser will pull up and won't already have my history of searches. And so it's not going to show me targeted books based on what it knows I shop for personally, and therefore I can get a little bit of a cleaner view and a bigger picture. So first of all, if I click on right here on Search Amazon bar, it's going to automatically show me some trending topics. I like to skim those quickly and see if there's anything in the books category or anything I could potentially combine with a book topic to make an interesting niche. Now, in this case, it looks like there are some specials going on with Kindle, with the iPhone 15, Halloween candy, fall fashion. So there's nothing here that I'd be interested in, but I do see Halloween candy, and that makes me think, oh, Halloween's around the corner. So that could be an idea for a theme to use with an activity book or a coloring book. However, let's say we know that I want to make a coloring book. So if I go ahead and type in just coloring book, oh, my caps lock is on, but that's okay. So here are my results for coloring book. Now, first off, what you want to look at is this number here, where it shows me that there are 70,000 results for coloring book. That is a very, very high number of results. Obviously, when you are just starting out doing research this way, it can be a little hard at first to figure out, is 70,000 a big number? Is 12,000 a big number? Am I looking for 1,000 results? Am I looking for 500 results? Am I looking for something under 100,000? So this is why I recommend starting at the broadest part of your niche. So let's say the type of book you want to make, a coloring book. So you can get a sense of how big the category is and make sure there's demand. So we know that coloring books are a popular product in general, and we can verify, yep, there's demand for coloring books. And we can do two things. We can look through the first few pages and see if we get new niche ideas. Or if you already are invested in a category, you can go ahead and dive deeper into that next tier of your niche review and see how many results you get. So I'm interested here just to scroll down and see if there's anything new popping out at me. And you'll note that the first few results are sponsored. So if you look through these top results, you're seeing that somebody is putting out some creepy doll horror coloring books and is putting ads on those, probably trying to get a jump on some Halloween traction. If that were something that interests you, that might be something you'd want to say, wow, I haven't seen that before. Is that a trend that I'm interested in creating? Maybe I'll do some more research on the customer interest there. However, let's say that's not for me. We can also see from this first page, here's a bestseller. So one thing that's interesting about looking at this book is that it helps us pinpoint some ideas for niches. So not only are we talking about coloring books, we're talking about coloring book for adults, and that is one way to segment your book a little further. And then they go a step further and they say it's mindfulness coloring book for adults. So not just any coloring book for adults. It's not funny, it's not job-based, it's not serious. It is Zen coloring book for mindful people. It's made to be stress-relieving designs. We also see that it has over 3,200 reviews, which means even more people than that have purchased it because, of course, not everybody leaves a review. So that's amazingly popular and might be something you want to keep in back of mind. Now, note, you definitely don't want to jump right in and decide that this is the perfect niche because this book might have been around for a long time now, or it might be produced by a big seller. And what you don't want to do is find one thing that's popular and think that you should immediately go head to head with it. You want to find a space that you can put a brand new book out and stand out amongst the crowd so that your customer has a very simple decision to make. Think about if you had two books side by side right now, one of them with 3,000 reviews and another with no reviews and you've never heard of it, which one are you more likely to purchase? Probably one like this. So already those are a couple of big points of learning that we've seen just from the first line of results on this page. But we can also continue to scroll down and see, okay, well, now we have some bluey books, dinosaur coloring books, cute animals coloring books. So this takes you into another niche. These, of course, are more child-oriented. They do have different characters. Now, you want to make sure you are not infringing on anything trademarked or copyrighted. So whether this bluey book is made by a licensed manufacturer or not, it is not something that you want to do. Even if you find that it's another independent seller, it does not mean that they are doing it legally, and it does not mean that they won't be taken down and terminated. So make sure you do have licensing rights for anything and avoid characters like this brand name Bluey. However, what you can do, on the other hand, is something like dinosaurs and use different style of dinosaur characters as long as it doesn't look or sound like something like the Barney dinosaur that is a trademarked character. Now, another way you can niche down here is you can see that this mermaid coloring book is not just for kids, but it says right on the cover for kids ages 4 through 8. This is another way that authors are pinpointing their target market even further, is having this age bracket of maybe 3, 4, 5 years gap. And of course, we all know that coloring books can really be mixed and matched to use amongst any ages. But by putting something like this right on the cover, it makes it a lot easier for the shopper, especially when they are gift giving, to be able to look right at this and say, oh, that's perfect. It's her 7th birthday. That's the gift I'm going to go ahead and get. So I would say the same here with the unicorn coloring book. And then if we scroll down, we see a few more bestsellers and overall picks popped up. So here we have a stress relief coloring book. Landscape, flowers, patterns, mushrooms, and many more for relaxation. So this is a little bit different than the mindfulness, but it is kind of pivoting into that relaxation Zen mindset, and it's another adult coloring book. But here it's also talking more about nature, animals. You can see the cover, even though it mentions animals in the title, the cover looks like we are potentially positioning the book a little bit more in the forest, maybe mystical type of look and vibe, maybe than an animal type of vibe. So it would target a bit of a different consumer would stand out to somebody looking for something a little bit different. So this one is made by Crayola, so I'll skip that. This one is Disney and Thomas Kincaid Studios. Definitely skip over that. This one is pretty cute. So again, we have 4 girls ages 4 through 8. This one is kawaii coloring pages for kids. So that's another popular niche, is the kawaii look, which is kind of the cute, the eyes, the little cartoon characters. Here you can see on the cover the ice cream with faces. So that's another niche you can look into. There's some more mindful patterns, adult coloring book. So on the first page, we are kind of getting a dichotomy of either adult Zen relaxation or this 4 to 8-year-old child's fun, playful animal coloring book. That's good to kind of keep in the back of your mind because it could mean they're big categories, but it also might make you think about what falls in between those categories that's missing. Because you know people of other ages have other purposes for wanting to color. Maybe we are missing out on an opportunity for educational coloring books. Again, this is only the first page, but that is something I like to look for. Scrolling down. Okay, don't hold me accountable for this. I am truly just looking at the first page of sellers right now. So we see that right here on the first page. Then we go into adult swear word coloring books. So that is another way you can turn. If you're not looking for relaxation, maybe you are looking to share an outlet for letting off steam with some swear word coloring for your target audience. And then it looks like somebody took that niche and turned it on its head to do relaxation coloring book for girls. So trying to bring that whole relaxation vibe into the younger children's category instead of just for adults. Then we've got some Halloween coloring books popping up because I am recording this at the beginning of September. So of course, Halloween's around the corner and people are trying to jump on that holiday trend. One thing to think about there is that obviously holidays are not year-round. They are not evergreen. So if you create a book to try to sell for Halloween, you're going to want to really invest in understanding marketing and ads and trying to ramp it up to be seen and then start selling the few months before the holiday. Because as soon as October 31st hits, you probably won't be seeing any more Halloween sales for another 10 plus months. Which is absolutely okay because maybe that's your strategy. Maybe you want to do Halloween books and then turn around and make Thanksgiving books and then turn around and make Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa books, and so on. So there are enough holidays throughout the year that might be your angle and strategy. Here we have an ABC coloring book, so a little more of that educational positioning that I had mentioned before. So it looks like some people are in that niche and it's showing up here on page 1. But you can see even on page 1, this is why coloring book in and of itself is not niche. Neither is just saying adult coloring book or child coloring book anymore. So that's a lot of great information. But now let's say we know that we are interested in making an animal coloring book. Let's just say, regardless of whether we think it may be an oversaturated market, maybe you are determined to find a niche within the animal coloring book. So let's type in animal coloring book and drop down here. We'll go back to the numbers we looked at up front and see that now we have narrowed it down to 30,000 results. So that means that we have niched down from just coloring book to animal coloring book. We've knocked 40,000 books out of the competition here, which is fantastic. But if you are a brand new seller putting out a book tomorrow, I don't think you necessarily want to be competing with over 30,000 other results that are pre-existing and have hundreds or thousands of sales, do you? That's why then I would scroll through and do a lot of the same precursory looks and see if anything else jumps out at you to maybe add into your analysis as you go. So if you're new to niches and niche research, this is a great way to think about it because now you're thinking, okay, animal coloring book is my niche. But that can be taken a step further. And in so many cases, when you think that you've hit the niche, there is still another step below that. And sometimes you can get into too much of a super small micro niche. But what's great with those is you might be the only seller of that book. So, depending on your strategy, you might create a book that, sure, will not sell thousands and thousands, but it might be a book that has a high conversion rate because as soon as you get your target audience, they say, wow, this is incredible. It's exactly what I've always wanted, but didn't know existed. So, taking that into consideration, let's look through Animal Coloring Book. You'll see that we've got Safari Animals Coloring Book. That's one way to niche down further. We have this Cute Animals book that we saw on the front page. So we know that this is something cutesy. You can see it by the cover that maybe it's a little more artistic, or maybe they're wearing clothes or accessories like these glasses. We have this wildlife, so maybe not safari, but maybe more jungle niche. Happy animals for toddlers. So these are all little cartoon animals with faces. Here's a wild animal book for kids, coloring fun and awesome facts. So one way that they made their book stand out is by adding awesome facts to each page about each wild animal. And this book, you can see, is selling really well and has great reviews as well. Now we have this 100 Animals adult coloring book. You see that it has that mandala look that a lot of the relaxation and Zen books are creating with. And these books have been around a bit and are incredibly popular. I think she has a whole line of them, and there's other competitors that look very similar. So just because it has almost 10,000 reviews, don't jump directly into that and try to compete with it, because this one will probably get the sale over yours. But always keep in back of mind, it's clearly popular and people like something about it. So figure out what they like about it and how you can tie that into your own unique design. Here's another way to look at it. We have Cute Animals and Their Babies. So this could be educational, or a mommy and me type book, a daddy and me type book for animals, or for kids to start to relate family members that, animals have families in similar ways that humans do. Scrolling down, now here's Fanciful Sea Life. You can do Under the Sea Animals. So you can see that we have here's animals with shapes, colors, numbers. So it's educational. It's all kind of tied together. We have some uncommonly cute animals, unusual from around the world. That's a unique niche. This one is all horses. And now Dover coloring books are a big name. You can see that there are 70 books within this series here, and they have close to 5,000 reviews. So of course it's a big name, but it is interesting that they don't have to do several different types of animals. They have an entire book of just horses, and people are loving it. So again, these are all ways that you can take bits and pieces and figure out what looks like it's working and what's not working, and start to hone in on some of the ideas you've already written down. And I'm sorry, I was going to wrap up that thought, but I just kept scrolling, and now there's the Farting Animals coloring book. So if you think that there's not a niche for you, I'm telling you again, there is clearly a niche for anything, because this book alone has almost 7,500 reviews. So again, there is space for you to find something that's going to stand out and something that's going to sell to the right person. On that note, let's do another stage of this research where you noticed that when we typed in animal coloring book in the search bar up top, here, I'll click through it again, Amazon always references several other things that you may be searching for. So it pulls its algorithm together and says when people type in animal coloring book, a lot of the time they follow it up with for adults, for kids ages 4 through 8. They might be looking for bulk books. They might be looking for older, 8 through 12, younger toddlers, 1 to 3. So one thing you can do is take note of all of these ideas. So this time I'm going to go ahead and just take their advice instead of trying to come up with something off the top of my head. And let's see what animal coloring book for adults pulled up. We scroll back over. We see that we're now down to 20,000 results for animal coloring book for adults, which brought it down a little bit from that 30,000, but that's still a pretty large number of competitors. But what type of niches are people finding here? Now, this book is sponsored and has 4 reviews, which makes me think potentially it is a relatively new launch and they are trying to get some traction on it. But this is Animal Astronauts, a coloring book for adults. Space Adventure for adults. They also have teens. Fun Relaxation with Cosmic, and then we can't see the rest of it yet, but clearly what they are trying to do here is take the fun relaxation vibe out of just this Zentangles look, like in this giraffe picture here, and see if there's interest in another way. We've got some dragons, so we've got fantasy coloring books. Then we've got some reptiles, relaxing farm animals. So you see that these are not all the Zentangles necessarily for the adults, but there are still too many books to try to want to compete specifically here. So here's one, Relaxing Landscapes adult coloring book. So I'm going to make a note to myself here about relaxing landscapes, and that might be something that I'm going to come back to and compare to see if they are as popular as animal coloring books, or if there's maybe another way to niche down into landscapes. But first, I want to see if the Amazon search bar will give me anything better in terms of a deep dive without me having to come up with my own. So if I click the search bar again, it will generate some popular search topics here, and we'll see animal coloring book, cute animal coloring book, farm animal coloring book, all for adults, relaxation, funny, stress relief, animal faces with flowers coloring book for adults. Now that is pretty darn specific, so I'm going to go ahead and click that and see what exactly is pulling up. Obviously, it's either hit the top of the algorithm or enough people are starting to search for it, or however the search bar is recognizing this term, it is populating for me. So sometimes I like to just click through those things because they're terms I would have never thought of. And right away, you see that this time there are only 196 results. So when we started and we saw 70,000 and we didn't know whether that was okay competition or not, this gives you some insight into, okay, there are categories that have less than 200 books to compete with. One thing we can't tell through using just the Amazon search bar is the volume of searches. So I don't know how often this exact search term is really going to come up. But if it auto-populated for me in the search bar, I've got to think it's going to do that for somebody else. And somebody else might be curious and go ahead and click on it too. That might be what they were looking for without even knowing it. So Animal Faces with Flowers coloring book. What's interesting is the first 2 results are these sponsored creepy doll books that we saw on page 1 earlier. But then immediately what comes up is Animal Faces with Flowers coloring book for adults. And this actually shows me right here that it was published on August 22nd, 2023. So I am publishing this less than a month after this book has been released. But already it has 2 5-star reviews. And now what I'm thinking is that that exact phrase has been searched because this author has advertised the book, has told friends and family about it, and people have gone in and copied and pasted the title of the book to look for it. So of course that might tell us, all right, this is too much of a niche. It did seem too good to be true. However, whether it's this case or a similar one but a different phrase, it can make you see, okay, well, maybe if I do something with not just the animal or not just landscape, and I pair them together to have both the face and the flowers or the animal in nature, maybe I'll be able to cobble together more long tail keyword phrases. If you've stuck with me this long, you have now seen several different ways that I use just Amazon as one of my starting points to find my profitable niches as I dive deeper into learning more about low content publishing. There are some profitable categories that we might know about, like coloring books we talked about today, but by using a lot of the strategies I showed you in this video, I've been able to find myself a couple of profitable growth niches that are doing really well for me and show a lot of potential, and I know you can do the same. In terms of a specific number of results you want to see in terms of whether a niche is already too saturated, I can't give a specific number, and if you're really determined to do well in a niche, don't let anybody tell you not to try. However, I would say that the niches we saw at the beginning with 30, 40, 50 plus thousand search results probably means that it is not a great starting point for a brand new publisher to try to make an impact in. However, if you find search results under a couple thousand, maybe 2,000 search results, that could be a really strong place for you to get started. You might end up coming across some search results where there's only 100, maybe less than 100, and there you'll get two different roads of advice. Some publishers will tell you that's fantastic, publish there, because that means your book will have incredibly low competition. But other publishers will tell you it might be that low competition level because there's also no demand for it. So if it's a very quick to make book, go ahead, put it together, throw it out there. But if it's something that would take you time and potentially an investment in money, like paying a cover designer for it, you might want to reevaluate whether a search resulting in 77 products means that you found the winner or you found something that consumers are not paying for. So I'm interested to hear what your experience has been doing Amazon keyword research. If you have tried any of these processes, I would love to hear your experience below. And if you have feedback, that would be great for me or for any other viewers about how many search results you look for or other metrics you look at. I'd love to hear them. As always, there is so much more than I can cover in just one video. So please hit subscribe if you found this helpful, useful, or motivating, because I am having more videos right around the corner. And this time we're going to step up to use some of my favorite research tools that have really helped me find some winners. I'll see you next time.